Hello, welcome to another special Saturday show. I took a week off last week to attend Crypticon Seattle, which was just like Crypticon Seattle always is, kind of a mixed bag of good, bad, and ugly, just like short story collections. Today we're going to do a really short video on something I've been thinking about a lot. And that is what I'm calling Bond, Not Bond. It's the spy film that occurred mostly during the 60s. It seems like 1965, 66 was the real sweet spot for this. All of the Fleming Bond books had come out. There had been a couple of duplicates or imitators. And the Bond films were happening, and they were hugely successful. And it seemed like every country in the goddamn world jumped on that bandwagon, which we're going to talk about in a second. I'm going to click through. First of all, I'll let you know that the Fleming books lasted from 1953 with Casino Royale through about 1966 or so, and there have been numerous other books in that sort of franchise by other authors over the years, ever since Ian Fleming passed. But as far as films go, I'm going to click off some usual suspects that I was on social media and I asked people, give me your best Bond, not Bond films. And I seem to get a lot of them that were all in the same sort of group here. And by mentioning these, I'm going to clear those out of the way. And some of them may surprise you, some of them that they're in the honorable mentions, which is what all this stuff is. And then we'll get to a top 20 at the end of the video. But we're going to go through these in kind of alphabetical order. First of all, there were the 3 Austin Powers movies, of course. There was that Brothers Grimsby thing in 2016 that the guy who did Borat did, which I didn't see. I don't know why I didn't see it, but I didn't. 1967 was the Woody Allen, David Niven Casino Royale, which I did watch recently, and I thought it was okay. It wanted to be one thing and turned out being another. Let's see. I Spy TV show in 1968 with Robert Culp and Bill Cosby. When I was a kid, man, that was the bomb. That was such a great show. And then they did a movie in 2002 with Eddie Murphy and Owen Wilson, which was an absolute caravan of crap. We're going to skip over The Kingsman in 2014 and 2019. There might have been a third one. The Man from U.N.C.L.E. TV show, of course, that's what it was designed to do. They did a movie or one or two. One of the movies was called One Spy Too Many. They did a host of novelizations of episodes that both aired and didn't air. Early on in this series, I covered a vampire book that they did that was kind of ridiculous. And there's also the Henry Cavill Army Hammer movie that Guy Ritchie did back in 2015. I like that movie. It's got a great score, and it's actually an enjoyable film. And I think I might have gone over that at one point, but my memory doesn't always work. The Matt Helm movies I'm going to lump in here with Dean Martin. The Silencers in 66, Murderers Row in 66, The Ambushers in 67, and The Wrecking Crew in 69. If you haven't seen these, you should. They're awesome. My favorite is early on, I want to say in Murderers Row, he's driving through the Alps with Connie Stevens in the passenger seat. And in the middle of driving through the Alps, he pops the center console and a bar comes up. And he starts mixing drinks. He's got a cigarette in one hand and a drink in another. And he's just sort of, it's very cool. It's not cool because it's drinking and driving, but come on. It was the 60s. I love the books. There's a lot of them, but I've not read one that wasn't enjoyable. I did learn that there was, in 1975, there was a TV series that ran for 14 episodes with Anthony Franciosa, which I've never seen, but it's on my list now to sort of look up. The Flint films, Our Man Flint, in 1966, was directed by Daniel Mann, who did things like Come Back Little Sheba and Tea House of the August Moon. And then In Like Flint in 67, that was directed by the great Gordon Douglas, who did Them, They Call Me Mr. Tibbs, Slaughter's Big Ripoff. An interesting film called Skin Game with Cleavon Little and James Garner. The Flint films are great. For the longest time, my cell phone, their ringtone was the musical little ditty that his phone did. Spike is the Robert Rodriguez films. There was 5 of those, and it seems like those things are unstoppable. And then Wild Wild West, the TV show with Robert Conrad and Ross Martin, created by Michael Garrison. Classic. Again, when I was a kid, there was no one cooler than James West. We're not going to talk about the movie that they did because that was fucking terrible. But there seemed to not be a single country that didn't get involved. There was an animated film at one point in '92 called Freddy as F.R.O.7. It was, again, animated, and it starred Ben Kingsley and Jenny Agutter. There was a host of films coming out of China and Hong Kong. Specifically, I'll mention there's a series of films called Aces Go Places. And we talked on a previous episode about the Bruce Lee clones. This was another one of them called Iron Finger, with Bruce Lee. The Tuxedo with Jackie Chan. I found one Bond sort of parody from Czechoslovakia called The End of Agent W4C from '67. There's a couple from Denmark, a bunch from France. Most of them starred Jean-Paul Belmondo. In Germany, there was a film called The Girl from Rio that starred Shirley Eaton, who was the girl that was painted gold in Goldfinger. We're going to get to her in a minute. In Greece, there was one, Help, It's Vengos, Overt Agent Triple Aught. India seems to have a ton of these things. I kept coming across them again and again and again, and they would try to hide them with the titling, but for the most part, once you saw that poster art, you were like, oh yeah, this is a film from India. I'm going to skip over those. Italy jumped in with both feet. Everything from Super Agent Super Dragon, which was riffed on MST3K, to something Two Mafioso Against Gold Ginger, How We Stole the Atomic Bomb, 008 Operation Exterminate was directed by the genre director Umberto Lenzi. There's a few from Japan. I even found one from Spain called Lucky the Inscrutable that Jess Franco did, which kind of blew my mind. And of course, United Kingdom did a ton of them. Hot Enough for June, aka Agent 3.5 with Dirk Bogarde. Dirk Bogarde did a ton of these things too. It's kind of wild. Let's see. The Second Best Secret Agent in the Whole Wide World from 1965. Never Say Never Mind, The Swedish Bikini Team, 2001. And then a Hammer film called She, stands for Security Hazards Expert, that starred Omar Sharif and Anita Ekberg. There's a ton of things, of course, from America, everything from Troy Donahue in '67 in Come Spy With Me. There was the Johnny English series. There was a Leslie Nielsen thing in the midst of all of that airplane resurgence called Spy Hard. And then another TV series that I completely missed that I'm going to have to check out. It ran from 1979 to 1980. There were 12 episodes. It's called A Man Called Sloan, and it starred the great Robert Conrad, who we got to know back in Wild Wild West. Okay, so those are all the honorable mentions, and now I've got a list of top 20, hot off the presses. These are in absolutely no order. They just came to me, and this is how I wrote them down, so don't get all hung up on that stuff. If you have your own top 20, put them in the comments. I'd love to read them, especially if I haven't seen them or heard of them. I dove pretty deep on these to get a lot of these, and most of these I had included because either they were a personal favorite of mine, or I just thought they were so weird that we should probably talk about them. Number 1, 1968, Mario Bava's Danger Diabolik. We've talked about Danger Diabolik here before. Danger Diabolik was a huge hit. in comic edition in Italy, and they've tried it a couple times for film, and it just doesn't work. This is the best one of the versions on cinematic versions, but it's got its moments. It's got John Philip Law, and it's super cool. It's got a great score. It's got a cool look to it, and yeah, good stuff all the way around. Number 2. Directed 1967, directed by Leslie H. Martinson, who directed Batman the movie. This is going to give you a hint on the quality of the overall film. Stars Raquel Welch, and the movie's called Fathom. It was a version of like a female James Bond, and Raquel Welch was operating at the top of her powers. She's beautiful in it. She's very sexy, very cool. The script is a little ridiculous, but most of these are, to be quite frank. There's a charm to them, don't get me wrong, but there is definitely a problem there. Number 3, 1975, directed by Brian Trenchard Smith, who did a great movie you can find called Stunt Rock. This is The Man from Hong Kong. It stars Jimmy Wang Yu, who was the one-armed swordsman. It's super cool. I want to say George Lazenby is in this as well as the villain. I interviewed Brian Trenchard Smith years ago, and just a charming guy, super knowledgeable, super kind of had a swagger to him that was very cool. I appreciated that. But Man from Hong Kong, awesome. If you haven't seen Man from Hong Kong, get on it. I want to say it's on Tubi, so you have your work cut out for you. Number 4, 1967, Deadlier Than the Male, directed by Ralph Thomas, starred Richard Johnson from The Haunting as Bulldog Drummond. It's really kind of kitschy, but very cool. It's very much about the women being assassins or some sort of crime organization, a la one of the Our Man Flint films. I want to say In Like Flint, but don't quote me on that. It's great. It's fun. It's very cheesy. But again, if you got an hour and a half to waste and you want to waste it on a Bond parody, Deadlier in the Male is a fine selection. Number 5, I'm going to throw in a bunch of stuff here. It's actually 3 films. 2008, there was OSS 117, Cairo Nest of Spies. 2009, OSS 117, Lost in Rio. Those were both directed by Michael Hazanavicius, I want to say. Stars Jean Dujardin, who was in The Artist. And then there was something later called OSS 117 From Africa with Love. These are sort of remakes of a series of films from the 60s, the OSS 117 films, which are great. They very almost made this list, but I ran out of time. But these ones, especially Cairo Nest of Spies, are very, very cool. It's got a great score, got a great look. They're very inside baseball, kind of made for people who love these Bond parodies, and just hilarious, super fun, super informed. I strongly recommend either the old OSS 117s or these newer versions. These are the films that got Jean Dujardin, the artist, and a bunch of his other stuff that happened afterwards. Great stuff. Number 6. Here's a couple of films, too, that we're going to sort of lump together. 1965, Norman Taurog, who directed Boys Town and Double Trouble with Elvis, did a film called Dr. Goodfoot and the Bikini Machine. And then the next year, Mario Bava did Dr. Goldfoot and the Girl Bombs, starring Vincent Price is in it. Frankie Avalon is in a couple of these, or I want to say both of them, maybe just the one. Super fun, super parody, super silly, not to be taken seriously in any stretch of the imagination. Just kind of groovy, fun. A lot of these things you can sort of blanketly use the adjective groovy, and you're not going to be too far off. Let's see. Number 7, 1968. Directed by David Miller, who did Executive Action in '73, a film called Hammerhead. It starred Vince Edwards. Vince Edwards was a popular actor back in the day on a doctor show, and very sort of lantern-jawed hero. As soon as you see his face, you'll go, oh yeah, that guy. Hammerhead is sort of a lesser title, but it's still fun and still kind of cool. But the fact that Vince Edwards in it was really blowing my mind. Speaking of blowing your mind, number 8. Let's see, Clive Donner, who directed Old Dracula and What's New Pussycat with Peter Sellers. A film called The Nude Bomb with Don Adams. It was after, at the peak of the popularity, and as that was sort of ending of Get Smart, they gave him a film. And this was after Get Smart, before Inspector Gadget. But Don Adams evolved into this super, it was wild. Look for old Don Adams clips on YouTube. He was very much like a swinging cat kind of guy. But The Nude Bomb is about what you'd expect. It's all the same sort of people coming back, and just like an extended episode of Get Smart. Let's see, number 9. Here's a couple more films, both directed by Eddie Neikart, who did a film called Caliber 357. The first one's from 1981 called For Your Height Only. Some of you already know what I'm talking about. And then the other one was called The Impossible Kid of Kung Fu. And they both starred the actor Weng Weng. Weng Weng was a little person who somehow got cast in a James Bondian role as a kung fu expert. Both of these films, specifically For Your Height Only, have to be seen to be believed. They are wild, hilarious, a little exploitative, but it's one of those things that you, at the very least, you got to check these off your list. They are fabulous. Number 10, 1967, directed by Frank Tashlin, who did The Girl Can't Help It and Cinderfella, the Jerry Lewis film. He did a couple of Jerry Lewis films early on, before Lewis took over as director of his own stuff. He also directed the Bob Hope movie Son of Paleface. The movie's called Caprice. Stars Ray Walston, Richard Harris, and as the spy, Doris Day. It blew me away. I saw a trailer for it. Can't find the film, but it looked silly. It's Doris Day kind of stumbling into a spy thing and becoming sort of spyish by the end of the film. Hilarious. Richard Harris, always great. If you want a good time, look up on YouTube Richard Harris, Peter O'Toole drinking stories. Those are legendary. But Caprice, innocuous fun. I put it on my list here mostly because of the inclusion of Doris Day. Number 11. Richard Rush, who did a series of great films. One's the Stuntman, which I covered previously, and from 1980. He directed Freebie and the Bean. He directed Air America. This film is from 1968. It's called A Man Called Dagger. And back in the day, there used to be a guy that always showed up on like Merv Griffin show or Mike Douglas show and Johnny Carson named Jan Murray. He was a comedian, a comedic actor. I don't really see that, but he's one of those perennial faces that always showed up, and he's the bad guy, as I recall, in this. And it's one of the lower tiered Bond parodies, but his inclusion warrants it being included here on the list. Let's see, number 12, 1968. Directed by Daniel Petrie, who directed Sally Field in Sybil in 1976. He directed Fort Apache, The Bronx in 1981, and Cocoon of Return. It's called The Spy with a Cold Nose. It involves a dog. Stars Lawrence Harvey and the the great Dalia Lavi, who was an Israeli actress and singer. Just a beautiful woman, great voice. Spy with the Cold Nose, again, sort of A, B, C tiered parody. Fun, nothing to be taken too seriously, but an enjoyable little time waster, as I like to say. Speaking of obscure comedic performers and comedians, number 13, 1966, Last of the Secret Agents, directed by Norman Abbott, who directed a TV series, was known best for a TV series called I'm Dickens, He's Fenster. Starred John Astin, aka Gomez Adams, and Marty Ingalls, who was a comedian who ended up marrying Shirley Jones from the Partridge Family before he died. It was a series that lasted from 62 to 63. This is a movie called Last of the Secret Agents, and it stars Marty Allen and Steve Rossi. Allen and Rossi were a comedy team. Marty Allen was a sort of frizzy-haired, chubby guy who did a lot of misspeaking. He had a catchphrase. I'm trying to remember. I've been trying to remember what it was. It's "Who Dat" or "Who Day" or something like that. And Steve Rossi was the sort of cut from the Dean Martin mold. I'm not going to share the story. You'll have to look it up. But there's a great story with him and Mae West that is really off color, but it's absolutely hilarious. The film is about what you'd expect. It's a movie, but it could have been a TV movie. I see it. I saw it years ago, but only under the auspices of Allen and Rossi being involved. Number 14. We're getting there, huh? This 14 is 1966. Again, 1966, 67. It's that sweet spot. It's called Kiss the Girls and Make Them Die. It has two directors, Dina Mori, who did the Italian version, and Henry Levin, who did the U.S. version. Levin directed things like 1959's Journey to the Center of the Earth, and he also directed one of the Matt Helm films, Murderer's Row, in 66. This stars Mike Connors, Mannix from TV, and it's a B-tiered parody. Mike Connors does a perfectly salvageable performance. This is the thing that got him Mannix, and he's a capable guy in a spy role. It's very, very fun. Number 15. 2002, this may surprise people that I put it on here. Malcolm D. Lee, who directed The Best Man in 1999 and Girls Trip in 2017. This is The Great Undercover Brother. I love Undercover Brother. Everything from the rollout of him driving the Cadillac with the orange soda in his hands, and we got the funk playing. It's great. It's very informed. It's very funny. Eddie Griffin is hilarious in it. Dave Chappelle's in it. Denise Richards is in it. Very funny. Like I say, very informed in both the spy genre, but also in black culture and juxtaposed to white culture. It's hilarious. If you haven't seen it, I want to say it's on Tubi as well. It's all over streaming. Number 16. Now, this one's an odd one. 1967, directed by Alberto Di Martino, who did The Chosen and Puma Man. Stars a guy named Neil Connery. I'll get to that in a second. And Adolfo Celli. Adolfo Celli was a guy who played a lot of villains in Italian crime films. He was the villain in the James Bond film Thunderball. This one's called OK Connery, aka Operation Kid Brother. And you guessed it, Neil Connery is Sean Connery's brother. Cast only because, well, not only, there's two things. One, he kind of looked like Sean Connery, and two, he was his younger brother. It's a ridiculous film. It is Connery is propped up on all things. He even does a bit of an accent, which is kind of weird. But again, it's one of those films that you got to check off the list just because it's absolutely ridiculous. Number 17, we just talked about on a recent episode, Joseph Lucy and his film These Are the Damned, aka The Damned. This is a version of Modesty Blaze, which is a big comic book. Very cool, very, very fun, very female empowerment. Starred Monica Vitti, Terrence Stamp, and here he is, Dirk Bogarde once again. It's fun, it's great. It was the comic book was a huge success, and the film does an okay version of it. It's well worth seeing. It might be a little hard to track down, but again, well worth seeing. And then let's see, we're going to go number 18. We talked about Shirley Eaton before, the Bond girl. Well, she was in a film directed by Lindsay Shontoff, who did the before mentioned The Second Best Secret Agent in the World in 68, Spy Story in 76. She was in he directed Undercover Lover in 79 and Number One Gun in 1990. It's called The Million Eyes of Sue Maru. Klaus Kinski's in this. George Nader, Maria Rome, Frankie Avalon shows up. This was riffed pretty heavily on MST3K. And well worth checking out. There was a sequel to it, which I previously mentioned, I think, called The Girl from Rio. The Million Eyes of Sumeru. It's fun. It's a little flawed. It's a little stumbly. It's a little stretchy. It's like, hey, we got this Bond girl. Let's link her up into a film. But again, you've seen worse, and there's a certain sort of knock-kneed charm to it. On the next two, or the last two, I absolutely love. Number 18, 1966, directed by Hanna-Barbera. This is called A Man Called Flintstone. It's a Bond parody starring Fred Flintstone, and it's delightful. Surprisingly informed, tutored in the tropes of the genre, and it's great stuff. Just great stuff. I'm a big Flintstones fan, and this was, as I was doing my research for all of this was like manna from heaven. I had completely forgot about it, and that sent me down a whole afternoon of poking around on YouTube looking at old Flintstone stuff, which is great. At number 20, I love this. It's a Saturday morning series that ran from 1970 to 1971 on ABC. It starred Dayton Allen doing a Humphrey Bogart impersonation. It also starred Bernie Capel from Love Boat and Get Smart. Mel Blanc worked on this for a while. Larry Storch from F Troop worked on this. There was an agent. The bad guys were the Agency to Prevent Evil, or APE. The villains were called Chump, and that it is Lancelot Link, Secret Chimp. Now, for younger people, this is going to blow your mind. The creators, Stan Burns and Mike Marmer, worked on Get Smart. They went from Get Smart to working on the Carol Burnett Show, which was a huge variety show of its day. They quit it so that they could work on Lancelot Link, Secret Chimp. Okay, I'm going to try to do this justice. It's a Bond parody where everyone in it is some kind of ape, mostly chimpanzees, because they could train them before they got old enough to eat their faces off. The love interest was a female chimp, and they went by the name Mata Hari. For Mata Hari. There was a band in it that they would always cut to a band, and it was called the Evolution Revolution. Um, and it's kind of a smash of Bond films, with some Wild Wild West in there, with some laughing sort of layered in the top. They would do a lot of quick cuts, a lot of this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Um, and it doesn't age very well, but it's so odd that you're gonna want to check it out. You can find it on YouTube. You don't have to watch much of it. It's all kind of the same. But man, when I was a kid, watching Lancelot and Lake Secret Shimp, it had its whole line of toys before toys were a thing. There was just an amazing, and oftentimes hilarious. It's got that same sensibility as Get Smart and all that kind of thing. Yeah. Of all of these, that's the one I'm going to tell you. If you haven't seen it, you should go see a little bit of it. It'll blow your mind, especially if you've never don't know what I'm talking about. It's really going to blow your mind. So that's it. That's it for a Saturday, talking about some Bond parody films. I love this kind of stuff. It's very nostalgic for me. It was such a huge thing back when I was a boy, and going into my sort of preteen teens. I remember when a lot of the Bond girls, before when they were the thing, when everything was Bond. I had, when I was a child, a toy that was a briefcase that you would open, and guns and knives and stuff would come out. It was all just great fun. A lot of this stuff is to be taken with a gigantic grain of salt, but if you try some of these titles, I think you're going to really enjoy them. If you have some that I missed, I'm sure there's a dozen. I threw away a whole bunch of stuff that just didn't seem to apply. Put it in the comments. I'll get right back to you, I promise. If you have something you want to talk about, email me at tomcarnell@gmail.com. That's going to do it. I'll be back on Monday with a whole batch of stuff I'm working on. And yeah, until then, I hope you have a good weekend.